Waking up can be difficult at times, especially when you're in deep sleep. Now, try waking up after hibernation. Oh, now that's a hard one to get up from. The yawning from me and the children around me can be heard down the valley as the roar echoes from the windows all the way through. I'm sure I scared the crap out of the cattle when I did that, but I didn't think about it at that point. It was usually this time of year when you could hear hibernators raising up and yawning all around as they all begin to rise, albeit very, very slowly. After so many winters of hibernating, everybody knows that reptilians like me and others need certain things when we awake from our long-term nap. The first thing we need is water, and lots of it. At this point, it's a good idea to not get in our way. Don't hand us anything, and for the love of God, don't try to tease us. That's a quick way to lose a hand. It doesn't matter what parts of us have changed into what. The second thing we need is to relieve ourselves, and this will be an absolute necessity, yet not exactly something that's enjoyable. In fact, because the fact we tend to gorge ourselves beforehand means that things are a little backed up, which means, well, to pop that cork, it's sometimes violent and painful. No one enjoys this at all. After that, the third thing we need is some food, and this can be just as bad as the water, especially if we didn't eat enough before we passed out. The feral rage can be actually a bit overwhelming to us if we don't eat. And this happens to all of us. It's actually commonplace for everybody who's gone through this type of change. And this is why we need a good fat supply. In fact, our young bear started tearing up his own house until a man in town actually ran up behind him, jumped up, and as the bear turned, he shoved a piece of jerky down the kid's throat. The kid came back to himself fairly quick after that and was unbelievably apologetic when he began to return to his senses. After these three phases are done, there's only a fourth item, and that's the cleanup. It's a rare one to actually mess yourself when you're passed out, as usually your intestines go into very slow metabolic states. Yet it is very common for reptilians like myself to molt. The mammalians shed, but not until after everything warms up, and the avians molt, but usually that's only during puberty. In fact, the young lady with the wings, she thought she was going through another change when her wings started to molt again. Come on, who the hell would thought that she's going to go through a second puberty of all things? For me, the amount of dry scales left behind can be a bit surprising and unsettlingly crunchy. After taking care of all these necessities, I got to look around and I got to work. It's another new spring, and pretty soon we're going to have to stock up food because, like the man says, in survival mode, you're either dealing with the weather or you're prepping for it. There's no in between. Thankfully, before I decided to take flight, I could enjoy something I didn't think I'd be able to. That would be fresh milk every morning, thanks to a bovine adjusted group that came in. We do have our own cattle, which I thought was going to put them sideways since they were human, but now they're, again, more bovine. But the cattle we have in the field are actually beef cattle and don't produce any excess milk, so having these ones actually pump milk out is really nice, though a bit weird to have a large mug of slightly warm milk that seems to have a hint of cantaloupe juice in it. Though I could really go for a cup of coffee in the morning, my biology does not exactly enjoy it anymore. Besides, the spiders enjoy coffee a lot. Seriously, if we knew that spiders got friggin' schnocked on caffeine, we might have saved a bit more coffee from before. But hey, we'll save it for the parties. As I enjoy my morning beverage, I'm grateful that we've had so many years here. Finding this place was just a random occurrence after having to search so many buildings, and actually finding those kids that have grown up to be good adults as they work out in the fields. Speaking of which, I look out to the fields and actually get to see our local centaur girl out there dealing with the cattle. She is grown up to be very lovely to look at. It's no wonder that a certain soldier found her so attractive, although it makes me wonder what he was into, but then again, I can't argue with results. As I think about this, I wonder where her son is, but only for a moment. Then I see him moving around, dealing with the cattle as well, making sure everybody's in good health. As he trots along, I realize that he's growing up really well after all this time. I can hear my sons rising from their hibernation cycle as well. I snicker just slightly, as all of them are going to end up stretching out, but all get pissed at each other for butting their wings into each other. No one's in a good mood when they're woken up. My second son, a few years back, hunted a bat, and he was so grateful. He brought 3 back and wanted to know if these were what he needed to eat to actually grow his wings. I looked at him and said, yeah, but before he dove his fangs in, I told him, not that one, don't eat that one. It was the wrong kind. It was the one where the arms were basically wings, not wings coming out of his back. If he had decided to eat the one with the wings as arms, well, he might not be like me. He might kind of look like a wyvern, honestly. I laughed, thinking about him struggling through the meal when I told him he had to chew down. I didn't actually have the heart to tell him that he could actually cook some of it. At least he has wings now, and he's able to fly with his brothers. Good thing, too, because the youngest has just now learned to fly. And tell you what, if he left his brother on the ground, oh man, I'd never hear the end of it. As I think about that, I turn and look at the ladies of the house. From my dolls to my feline femme fatales, to the human women who are about, and of course, my daughters in the area. The place is rather full at the moment, but pretty soon everyone will spread out to do their thing. As the girls run past me, I think to myself how great it is that I was actually able to impregnate the felines. It shouldn't have been possible. I still don't understand how. There's something going on. Because we look at all the other ones who are, shall we say, mixed. Whenever you have a species that's mating with another species, it never comes down to actually conception. It's strange. A lot of them tend to mix around. This is one of the reasons why so many humans like to screw the spiders, but the spiders can actually reproduce with humans, which again is weird. We're outliers, and we don't know why. In town, if someone isn't actually mating with their own type, bear for bear, elf for elf, or what have you, they don't produce offspring. Which leads to a few romances that unfortunately don't go anywhere or cause some serious issues, but hey, that's a small town. As the kids disappear around the side of the house, I turn and look at my felines and see their very nice curve. They've definitely eaten so much human that they've changed a lot. Now they look mostly human with some feline features. A few of them, seriously, at a distance, if they had their ears down and their tail tucked, you'd be hard to press to see if they're not human. They had to start wearing clothes again because of this, which kind of ticked one of them off. She enjoyed the idea of being bare to the world, but then we all had to get together and tell her, hey, you're not covered in fur anymore. Get over it. My dolls have not changed at all over this decade plus that we've been out here. For so many years, how could this be? It's strange but true, but they both still look like they're in their mid to late teens. I'm hard pressed to see an age difference between them and their eldest daughters, though my other daughters have some of their mother's, shall we say, feline features. It seems as though I can only get them knocked up at certain times of the year, so we don't have as many kids as you would think so after this long. Thinking of all this makes me do something. Before I leave, I put down the mug I was drinking and wrap my arms around my women with a hug and pull them close. The other ladies see this and, of course, chuckle and say whatever goofy crap they're going to say. And, of course, my ladies reciprocate. Unfortunately, my dolls, I swear, no matter what I do, I can't get a actual full human reaction. I don't know if they'll ever come back from whatever the hell was done to them. As I think about that and think about this wonderful moment I'm in it right now, all I could say is, how could anyone call us monsters? After a few seconds, unfortunately, I had to let them go and take to the skies, mainly because I just woke up, and when you do, you tend to be a little anxious, and now is not the time, especially right here in the kitchen. We're not going to go through that again. I take to the skies, and my patrol allows for the rest of the men to actually finish their work and finally take some time for themselves. During the winter months, they have to be very vigilant, as the amount of personnel that's actually conscious and alert is very few. For most of them, though, the biggest recreation is something you would figure would be nowadays: fishing. I mean, they're not as good as I am, as I can simply go down, and talons are far more effective than bait and hooks. But that's not the point. They just need some time. And time's something I'm willing to give them. If that means I have to be awake for days at a time, I got no problems there. They protect me, I protect them. That's how it works. On my patrol, I see the other flyers, and I also look close and realize my eldest son actually must have jumped out the upstairs window. Instead of coming to get something to eat, he just took off to see his girl. His mate is joining him in the sky, and the way they're flying tells me all I need to know, and to definitely keep the conversation short as they come in close. To no one's surprise, she laid another egg while she hibernated, though it's common for them to actually do lay an egg every single time they hibernate. Good for them, though, they don't actually feel it, but definitely surprises the crap out of them, no pun intended. As we fly in a circle, slow circle so we can talk, I realize out of the corner of my eye, see my second son flying past as fast as he can off to see his girlfriend. I'm hoping it's just girlfriend and they're not trying to go any further. Although I did kind of ask my eldest son's mate, and he said, well, the girls are developing well. Oh shit. Well, whatever. We'll see what happens. With contacting the ladies there, I realize that the Riverside homestead is in good standing, so I simply move on. But to get to the next part, I gotta climb, and it takes a while for me to circle enough where I can gain enough altitude to see the elf village. Over time, we've collected more elves, of course, as we catch refugees, and they don't really care for the name, but the name stuck. With over a dozen elves now living in that mountain, it kind of fits. We don't mind them having their own spot way off in the middle of God's nowhere squared, but it does seem a shame that my wonderful centaur lady who works in the field has to run all the way into the valley every day in order to help out with the herds, but she does insist. I honestly think she just doesn't want to leave home and she considers it good exercise, but then again, she's young, she'll learn eventually, I hope. The elves are still as attractive as they looked before. It's kind of freaky. I swear, I don't know what's going on. They don't get any older. They only seem to get a little taller over time. I think to myself, it's been, 15 years, maybe more, since the original two actually got here? And both of them have gained a good 6 to 8 inches in height. I mean, they're still looking young. Seriously, they look young. I'm amazed they don't have any more kids, but maybe they have the same issue my dolls have. I don't know, my dolls don't get taller. I don't know. We've been trying to figure this out for years, so at this point, we just say, fuck it. I don't have a lot of time to converse, as I simply have other places to be, but I do get to see the youngsters who run around who still love to hug on my tail. I swear they just love to do that. They grab my tail and they expect me to lift them up off the ground. When I gotta leave, I sometimes want to just flick them off like a booger, but I'll just have to promise them that I'll take them flying later, and that makes them happy. But I can't do it now, and they'll, okay, next time. I did have a little trouble getting the young bear to actually let go, as he just wants to go flying. I mean, that kid's wonder, but seriously, I wonder if he's going to actually claw my back as we fly out. But then again, at least he's got a home here, and once he lets go, I kind of step away as discreetly as possible and take to the skies again. Because the next stop I have to make is the spiders, and I definitely have to get over to the next valley to do so. I reach out and I yell for them. I can see a few of the movements underneath the webbing. I know they're awake, I know they're moving around, so I simply go to the main entrance. They made a surprisingly nice place. I mean, from the air, it looks like a giant cobweb that just stretches all the way over the valley. But when you get down low, you realize that they opened up an area large enough that you could get a couple semi trucks down that road, several different openings, and there's a very well laid out tunnel system in there. And also, they made it that the walls aren't sticky anymore, which is a great help. I still don't want to go in, though. It just weirds me out, and I get a little claustrophobic in there. You know, old habits die hard on this, and let's just say I was a little arachnophobic as a kid. Still, I wasn't going to be arachnophobic when I saw what in the hell I saw. I was just speechless. I mean, it was a hell of a shock what I saw. I knew they caught a very large group of marauders last autumn, but I didn't expect such a massive change. This is because the marauders they stopped were some of the meanest women I've ever even got the displeasure of seeing. I still remember all of us flying around trying to see what's going on and having to evade as these pains in the butt shot at us. Thankfully, nobody got hit, but let's face it, you hear that whiz, you know they're close. Could be 2 inches, could be 2 meters. I don't care. I don't want to get hit when I'm that high in the air. It's not getting shot I worry about. It's losing control and not being able to stop before falling. And the falling's not going to hurt. It's the sudden stop that stings like a bitch. I thought back at how I was glad I didn't get shot, but unfortunately, they shot our town mayor as he simply stood there, waving in the middle of the road. He was just trying to wave him down, let him know he wasn't even armed. He was just standing there. My blood still runs hot as I remember the crack as it entered the air and looking down and watching him stagger and fall. His wife flew over to him, wings wide open as she came over, and I saw her land and immediately begin to cradle his body, and those unbelievably angelic wings drooped to the ground as she realized what had just happened. My son got to the Amazon with a 9mm first, my youngest son. I've never seen him so angry as he tore the arm off that woman with his teeth. I would never have guessed that the youngest even had it in him, and I definitely didn't expect him to turn around as she's screaming and claw her throat out. I mean, totally. She was almost decapitated. I could see her freaking vertebrae from the front. As this was going on, I was too far away to do anything. I was diving down as fast as I could, but the spiders would actually saved him. They rushed the convoy from all different directions, in some cases jumping down on top of them and stopping these pains in the ass before they shot my son. By the time I landed, all the surviving women had been wrapped up and many of them were still kicking. I honestly didn't feel much remorse for them after what I saw. That's when we got close to the vehicle convoy and realized that there were children inside, and they were absolutely petrified. Some of the spiders still had the spider legs. And of course, there was me. Here I am, standing about 8 feet tall with these huge wings. And then there's my son right next to me. He only comes up to my waist, but he's still dripping with the woman's blood. We had to try and calm them down as best we could. And thankfully, the mayor's widow, she came over. And as she spread those big angelic wings, the kids seemed to calm down a little bit. after they chilled out a little bit and stopped pissing themselves, we found out who was related to whom. Any mother with child was opened up, released from the cocoon, and given the option to stay. We're not in the business of killing kids or making orphans or anything like that. And most of the women who got released from the cocoon were just so happy that they didn't argue with us at all. Half the kids, unfortunately, almost all of them female, turned out to be orphans used as slave labor by these marauders. Thinking about it, I was pissed. I can't believe that even as they were being taken away, those that had used these children as slave labor had the ovaries to call us monsters. This was horrible. However, now I look at the spiders coming out of the nest, and due to the influx of human food, the spiders have changed a lot. I mean, they were starting to look human already, but now, damn. It was like something out of those Japanese comics. Yeah, you know the type. Most of them accentuated the curves they have, the very human looking curves. All I could think of was, I need to look away. I need to look away. They're not wearing anything, and I can see everything. Oh shit. I've just awakened too, and it's going to be difficult for me to refrain. Oh crap, they're getting close. I seen that look in their eye. Oh crap, I need to back up, backing up slowly. Oh crap, what do I do? 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 Instincts taking over, instincts taking over. At that point, the hatchlings began running by, and that helped a lot, as they seemed to be a buffer zone between me and the spider ladies. Unfortunately, I couldn't just ask for the queen to stop the others from doing anything stupid, as the queen had not waken up from her hibernation a few years back. She's still in her cocoon, as no one wants to actually drink her, and some say she's still alive, but I don't know. Right now, her daughters run things, and her very lovely daughters. Her very lovely daughters that don't wear. I gotta go. I immediately told them that I had to leave to check on everything. I simply asked if there was anything they needed. And one of them simply raised their hand and rubbed it into places they shouldn't be and said, "Oh, we need something. We need something now." I reminded them that I have my own mates and I'm not betraying them and I gotta go. They giggled like it was funny, of course, but I could also hear a few of them do the whole "aww." I took to the skies and headed to my next location. Though before I headed to the village center, there's one more place I need to stop. It's another compound or farm, if you want to call it, like the one I am living in. This is where our friendly wabbits and bear have settled. The wabbit girls are more than a bit skittish around people due to how they were treated before. Our bear prefers the solitude away from the village center, yet he does enjoy the company of the wabbits. The wabbits themselves, they do like it when we say that way. They find it cute. They look very, very human. Seriously, something from a drawing you would find in one of them old cartoons from Japan. I mean, seriously, most of them are all way too busty for their own good. Not to mention, they do have those strong, strong legs. Holy crap. Seriously, I've seen one jump from the ground to the top of a four-story building in one go. No preparation, just bend down and boing, there you go, like a friggin' Mario character. It was crazy. Unfortunately, this made talking to them when we found them very difficult. We found them walking through the woods, and most of them looked like hell. Almost completely starved, their clothes were torn to crap. Many of them were missing pieces of clothing as they were simply exposed to the elements. Not good for someone who isn't actually covered in fur. As it turns out, they're herbivores, for lack of a better term. So it's not like they're going to go through any changes. They're not going to eat any meat. That being said, whatever happened to them did this to them. And what people did to them when they found them, is so much worse than being exposed to the elements. I didn't even want to think about it. I still remember when they called us. Thankfully, our friendly neighborhood Lamia was able to sit there and calm them down, as she simply sat there on her coils and waved at them, ushered them over, and offered them something to eat. By the time I got there, the wabbits had calmed down, but I was told that they were extremely skittish. When I landed with a little heavy of a thud, and I really shouldn't have. It made them all scatter. That is, until I walked up to the Arlamia and said, "Hey, what's up?" Then they realized I wasn't much of a threat. Unfortunately, they looked at me, realized I was male, and stayed away as well. This is when we realized we needed to build an area for them alone, and the only reason they seem to like having the one male bear around is, well, they say in their words, "He's fluffy." Why not, is all we could say. Still, it's going to be a while before they're full on part of the community, as they do keep their distance. Especially when the convoys arrive with extra supplies, they don't want to be around. Whatever humans did to them, honestly, I don't know. But I keep telling myself to retract my claws every time I think about it, because I seriously want to hurt somebody. Their little wabbit village, or the warren as they like to call it, isn't really too far from the river complex or cabin. They tend to trade a lot, and they visit constantly. I knew this was going to happen as I look down and I can see a very large snake slithering its way through. I can see that lamia heading in the same direction. I decide to land close, a little bit in front of her, to make sure she sees me. And when I land, we catch up and walk, and she's, well, a bit upset that the male lamia doesn't visit more often. I mean, I can figure why. He's a bit upset that her first few eggs have been complete and total duds. I had to keep telling her that this is something that digs at a guy even worse than with women sometimes. So just give him time. Remember, he's young, okay? He's really young. And, it took me a long time before I fertilized anybody, okay? So don't worry about it. It'll happen in time. Give it time. She seems to understand, and I have to remind her that she has plenty of time, as it seems like she doesn't age either. Although I can see a different color in her tail. It's strange. It's though every time she goes through her hibernation, she molts a little bit, and there's a different shade to her tail. I bring this up and compliment her more human parts, and make sure that she knows that it's not like she's unattractive. It's just some things weigh on a man, that's all. When she realized that I said to her that she's unattractive, i.e., she's very pretty, I realized I had to ease off the compliment, as the tip of her tail was actually sticking up and wagging like a dog. When we finally reach the warren, the rabbits come out and they greet me pretty warmly, but they're still a bit shy. I never push this, as I usually drop down on one knee to talk to them. I'm a lot taller than them, so it just makes things easy. I reach into my pouch and I grab the canned apples I promised that I would give them when I got back. Being almost purely vegetarian, they get very excited about these, and they love the sweetness. One of them even said, "It's better than sex." Without skipping a beat, two of the other wabbits turned and said, "How would you know?" I try not to get involved at this point, because I know at one point there's going to be a fight whenever this subject comes up. I break the tension by saying that I can't stay at all. It's past noon, and I've got several other places I need to visit. As I take to the sky, I wish them all well, and they all wave to me, which is nice. And our friendly neighborhood Lamia simply stays behind. As I sweep across, I get a good look at everywhere. I can see the farm, as there's the elf village way off in the distance. And pretty soon, I'm going to be reaching the village center. With that, I'm greeted very warmly. The mayor's widow gives me a hug pretty much as soon as I land, and unfortunately, I can't enjoy the hug too much because kids keep running up and asking to fly. She may have wings, but she doesn't like taking kids up. I swear that woman is paranoid she's going to drop everything. She recommends that I take them up and she'll prepare some tea, so I have a few minutes. I told them that I'd take them up for just a quick flight, and that's it. Once around the center, and I gotta come back. This gets annoying really quick, as there's a lot of kids that want to fly. Thankfully, some of them are pretty small, and I can take them 2, 3 at a time. After finally finishing up and coming back, I'm able to sit down, enjoy the tea, and catch up with everybody. This is when I receive a absolute shock. While I was in my hibernation cycle, a new type of creature has actually joined. I was really, what type? I was expecting lion, tiger, bear, oh my, anything like that. But as it turns out, a large caravan of homunculi arrived and began asking for assistance. The group was made up mostly of women and children, and they looked as though they were scared to death that they were going to get turned away. To their surprise, everybody said, "We got enough supplies to go around. Come on in," and brought everybody inside and warmed them up. Especially coming from the winter cold and not having enough food, they appreciated this. They offered to help out to do anything to make sure that they would not be tossed back out again. And after a few tries, it turns out that, maybe it's due to the smaller hands, but they turn out to be some of the best artisans or craftsmen that anyone has ever seen. The embroidery they can do, the working with metal is absolutely astounding. Some people mistake them for dwarves or something like that, which they really don't like that name, by the way. Don't do that. I asked them the only thing we have here is merging with animals came out of the change that we all had. Is there an explanation? She simply stated how the best guess is that the homunculi were basically a type of pygmies, meaning another type of species on the planet. Oh, and by the way, they prefer halflings. She was very adamant about that. As we sat there, we began to discuss another issue, was the fact that if these halflings used to be around, how in the flying hell did we get elves? We didn't even get a minute to contemplate this when an older halfling woman entered. The mayor's widow got up and introduced me to her as the chief of the halflings, or something along those lines. I kind of didn't realize what was going on because when I stood up out of respect and to shake her hand, she suddenly yelled, "Put that thing away first!" Since I wasn't sure what the hell she was talking about and must have looked confused, the mayor's widow said, "Which one?" I looked down and understood really quick that since I was basically just wearing a loincloth, turns out the halfling got a very interesting angle at that point. After we dealt with the issue, I just had to adjust things so that I was a bit more covered. We spoke with the halfling for about an hour or so before I just had to go back. I was running out of hours in the day. The mayor's widow reminded me that the convoy would be here in 3 days and to let everybody know if they wanted to be here for trade, they should be here early. Being that this is just a little farming village, the convoy showing up with new goods, hand tools, cloth, what have you, is a pretty big deal. I assured her that would let everybody know. As I took to the air once again, I knew I needed to get a better view of things. I simply began climbing higher and higher until I could see the entire area. The farm, the elven village, the riverside compound, the new Wabbit Hutch, the village center, even the new portion where the halflings call home, and even the spider's nest just on the other side. I could see just a little bit of their webbing. I thought this was a good day. So many years we've been here so far. We've had to deal with marauders. We've had to deal with insects coming in and trying to take over these massive queens. We've had to make peace with humanity and everything like that. Life can be good. Life can be very good. When I get back, I know I'm going to be very good to my ladies. I'm going to tell the boys find somewhere else to sleep tonight because this bedroom is going to be closed and it's going to get loud. As I was thinking that, in the distance, I check out the mountains and see the sun just barely beginning to set. I think about the fresh loaf of bread in my pouch that was given to me when I visited the village center. The family is going to love this fresh bread. Boy, I hope I can get it back while it's still warm. As I keep going around, I look and I see something in the distance, and something seems off. Looking closer, I wonder what the hell is that? Due to the sun, it wasn't easy to see, but as I look in and focus, I think it looks like aircraft. Is that really aircraft? Why would they be moving like that? Oh shit, there goes a missile. Oh, they hit something. They hit something. What the hell? I was slowly drifting closer, but they were at least 2 valleys away, and there was no way I was going to get to them. Reaching into my pouch, I pulled out the monocular that I traded for, and what the hell is they shooting at? I can't see what they're shooting at. And that's when I saw other things moving about. Are those can't be reptilian or avian? What are those? Then it hit me. The war against the bugs must continue. Oh, great. I watch as I drift closer and closer slowly. I have no extra sense of propulsion. I just glide along with the wind, so eventually, by the time I even get to the edge of the valley, the aircraft have pulled away, most likely due to needing fuel. Because of that, I don't want to get any closer. I really don't. If I get ambushed or something, there's no way for me to get away. I got no backup. And I need to let the village center know what the hell is going on. I look over, put the monocular away, and I can see, since I'm so high, if I dive down at about 40 degrees, I should be able to get to the village center really quick. In fact, I might make a new speed record now that I think about it. I go diving in as fast as I can, trying to make sure my wings are tight. My arms and legs are tucked in perfect as I stare ahead, squinting very tight to limit the amount of wind that's going into my eyes. I come down to the village center and I start slowing down, raising my wings wider, spreading my arms and legs out to slow down like a natural break. As I come in, I land a bit hard and start yelling for all the leadership. To my surprise, our lovely Lamia was there too, and she joins us inside. I tell them what I saw, and they immediately hook up the battery to the radio. All I can think of as they're trying to get a hold of the military forces out there is one thing. Should we be worried? Hello everybody, this is Syntax. Thank you so much for joining me on the next chapter of They Call Us Monsters. Before I go, I need to send out some special thank yous to a few of my supporters, and those will be MTF Guard, Erica Gem, Guardian Sage, SS Demon, Brian Kemp, Sir, Chris Dixon, and Coslin. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Everybody else, I will see you on the next one. This is Syntax, ejecting.